Coming up on Lawmakers. Governor Barnes announces plans for more charter schools. The Women's Legislative Caucus speaks out on the Cancer Coalition, and a group calls for the resignation of State Republican Party Chairman Ralph Reed.
Live from Atlanta, this is Lawmakers for January 30th. Now, here are your hosts, Gerald Bryant and Susan Hoffman.
Good evening, everybody. Also in tonight's broadcast, we're going to tell you about the winner of the runoff election for a vacant Senate seat.
Child passenger safety gets a boost from Ford, and Habitat for Humanity gets a boost from Georgia's First Lady. But first, our lead story, charter schools. Governor Roy Barnes today said that he announced legislation he says will make it easier to reach his goal of establishing 100 charter schools in Georgia. And Wendy Lawson is live at the Capitol with a wrap of today's education messages. And Wendy.
Well, education was indeed the subject of the governor's stops today as he described a streamlined approach to moving Georgia's children from daycare through university. In particular, he praised public schools that are started by and managed by parents, and he described legislation that will facilitate the startup of these charter schools. Governor Barnes delivered his education message before those who would be most affected by it, unveiling charter school legislation at Atlanta's Drew Charter School.
Traditionally, charter schools use innovative means to meet high goals. They encourage children to learn, and they encourage parents to be involved. And they can provide choice within a school system. I came to Drew Charter School today because it is the best example, a great example and the best example of what a charter school should be. There are other schools like Drew around the state, but there could be and there should be more.
The goals of the legislation are to streamline the process for becoming a charter and to equalize funding for those schools.
Up until this point, the huge majority of the charter schools have gotten significantly less funding than the other public schools. And that's one of the things we're trying to address in the governor's new charter school legislation. We want these charter schools to be on at least as level a playing field as we can make them with funding. And if they are level with funding and they've got great new ideas, who knows what we can achieve.
Earlier in the day, the governor told the Georgia Association of Black State Universities that Georgia's children should be groomed for higher education before elementary school.
Now we know from studies and from long-time knowledge that really, if you don't get them earlier than that, 0 to 3, that you're not going to be able to affect, or you're going to have a difficult, children are always going to be behind in the process. There has to be a plan, starting with child care, picking up with pre-K, continuing through K through 12, that culminates in our higher institutions of higher learning. And I believe that we're well on the way in that entire process.
Now, the process that the governor described includes the Georgia Early Learning Initiative, which encourages educational activities for infants and toddlers in daycare, and, of course, the pre-K program for 4-year-olds. Live from the Capitol, I'm Wendy Lawson for Lawmakers.
And Wendy, that covers a lot of ground, but did the governor mention any state plans for higher education?
Yes, as a matter of fact, he described 2 initiatives. At this morning's gathering, he told the group that one program will assist African-American males to graduate from college, and then in the second plan, Georgia will join the Southern Regional Education Board in awarding scholarships to black doctoral candidates.
Okay, thank you very much, Wendy.
The 18th Senate District has a new state senator. His name is Michael Moore, an attorney. He won in a runoff yesterday against Jay Walker, a former state representative. Moore replaces Sonny Perdue, who gave up his seat to run for governor. Moore won by a slim margin, but according to Representative Calvin Smyre, the state Democratic Party chair, Moore had a lot of party help.
We did a lot of targeting, we did a lot of telephone banking, we did a lot of canvassing, we did a lot of polling, and we were able to get a message that resonated, and he was victorious.
Smyre called Moore's win a major victory because Sonny Perdue, who again vacated that seat, switched from Democrat to Republican a few years back. Now, obviously, the seat is back in Democratic control, a plus in a Senate that is so closely split. The win was also surprising because Moore did not show well in the polls.
A lot of the political pundits says that Michael Moore didn't have a chance. He never led in any polls. I mean, it was a wide, some polls we had him down at 13. The best we ever got on the number poll was 7 points, so 7 basic points. So with that in mind, something changed, and within the last week or two, the voters, there had to be a change within the mood of the public because we had him behind on all of our polls.
One thing that could have impacted the race was a racially motivated mailer that was sent out just days before the election. Representative Smyre agrees the mailer may have had an impact, but doesn't believe it is the sole reason that Moore won the race.
Something else must have occurred as well, because hate crime, while it is a major issue, it is not one that is particularly, on our radar as such from a political perspective and from a public policy perspective. It resonates to a large degree, and but once I look at the numbers, then I'll be able to tell what happened. Yeah.
Senator Bill Stevens, Minority Caucus Chair in the Senate, says the Republican Party did not have anything to do with the race because Moore's opponent, Jay Walker, would not claim either party going into the special election, although he did serve as a Democrat when he served in the State House in the early 90s. Special elections are nonpartisan, but many do claim one party or another. Stevens calls Moore's win a temporary victory.
They will have an additional vote here for the few weeks we're in this session, but then we go into a new election year with newly reapportioned district lines, and this person doesn't even live in that district. So I guess it's a temporary victory is the way I would characterize it.
As for the racially motivated mailer that went out days before the election, Stevens says no doubt that it did have an impact on the African-American vote.
It did have an impact, and that kind of brutal racial politics can make a difference in a very short time window, and that's extremely disappointing. And I think those that did it ought to be ashamed of it. And I think it did have an impact in the race, and it scared African Americans, and that's become a staple of elections these days. And I think the people of Georgia are pretty much sick of it. I know I am.
So again, Michael Moore, an attorney from Central Georgia, is the new state senator from the 18th District. He will be officially sworn in tomorrow morning in the Senate chamber.
Budget cuts will force most state agencies to make do with less for the rest of this year and fiscal 2003, but one organization is slated to receive more money, not less, in Governor Barnes' budget plan. Today, the director of the Georgia Cancer Coalition spoke to the Women's Legislative Caucus to explain why his agency needs extra funding. Reporter Hamilton Northcutt was there. She joins us live with the story. Hamilton.
Well, Cancer Coalition Executive Director Russ Toll says that cancer rates in Georgia demonstrate the tremendous need for treatment and research, and that millions of dollars are needed to get the year-old Cancer Coalition up and running.
Cancer Coalition Director Russ Toll is spreading the message that Georgia needs a comprehensive cancer center and access to clinical trials involving new drugs and new technology.
What we don't have yet is a federally designated comprehensive cancer center. We don't have access to clinical trials for new drugs and new technologies across the state yet. And we don't have the kind of research, nexus of research going on in cancer that will enable a Georgian who has been diagnosed with something other than a routine kind of cancer in early stage to get the best care in the nation.
The Cancer Coalition's mission is to make the state a leader in cancer prevention, treatment, and research. The disease is the second leading cause of death in Georgia. 1 in 2 men and 1 in 3 women in Georgia will develop cancer sometime in their lifetime. The Cancer Coalition calls on the state's colleges, universities, and hospitals to work together in an unprecedented spirit of cooperation toward achievements in treatment and research.
So we're going to see some things that some of us never thought we would see before. Of clinical trials being administered out of Emory, for example, but the principal investigator being at Medical College of Georgia, and the basic science on it being done by Tech and University of Georgia. Because it's going to take all of those folks at the table to lead to the kind of breakthroughs we want.
And those breakthroughs will be expensive. Governor Barnes is allocating $24 million for the Cancer Coalition in a supplemental budget, $32 million for fiscal 2003. Reporting live from the Capitol Plaza, I'm Hamilton Northcutt for Lawmakers.
Hamilton, how did members of the Women's Legislative Caucus respond to Russ Toll's plea for their support?
Well, they did something today that they don't normally do and voted on the matter before setting their overall agenda for this legislative session. And by a show of hands, the vote was unanimous in support of Governor Barnes' allocations for the Cancer Coalition.
Okay, thank you very much, Hamilton.
Allegations of misconduct in the Enron scandal have hit home here in Georgia. Today, a union group called on Georgia Republican Party Chairman Ralph Reed to give back money that he gained in his work with the corporation. Lawmakers' Jamie Coran is standing by live at the Capitol with more on our story. Jamie.
Susan, those allegations came out in a press conference today requested by the Georgia Service Employees International Union 1985. along with workers from the AFL-CIO and other affiliated unions. And they are asking for Chairman Reed to step down from his position pending an investigation.
The shame of this is that Enron, even though they were losing money, kept pouring money into high-priced lobbyists like Mr. Reed instead of using it to help protect their employees.
This press conference was held in response to a New York Times report that suggests Karl Rove, who is President Bush's senior White House advisor, used his influence to persuade Enron to hire Chairman Reed as a consultant.
And while Enron was losing shareholder value each day, Ralph Reed was taking $10,000 to $20,000 a month on and off since 1997 to help Enron with a deregulation plan in Pennsylvania.
$127 million. That is the loss Georgia State Employee and Teacher Retirement Fund has suffered due to the Enron collapse.
And working families here and across the country, we'd like to think that Mr. Reed should follow the example of others and return the money he was paid from Enron to the ex-employees who have lost everything.
Now, we did try to contact Chairman Reed, but he was out of town and unavailable for comment. Reporting live from the Capitol, Jamie Coran, Lawmakers.
Jamie, quickly, I know you said earlier that the Georgia state pension funds had lost over $127 million, but apparently this is not going to have a major effect, is it?
Susan, the officials who run the state pension plan say that right now they are solvent and that no state employee is in any danger of losing any pension money.
Okay, thanks very much, Jamie.
Now, a reminder for those of you with access to the internet, you can watch this show online. Visit our website at gpb.org for more information. Click on Watch GPTV Online, then follow these simple instructions for watching live or looking at past lawmaker programs in our archives. That website address again is gpb.org, just another way we help keep you apprised of what's going on at the Georgia General Assembly.
We would also like to recommend another website that is a valuable resource for information about the Georgia General Assembly. Just go to www.legis.state.ga.us/legis. That website is a great research tool that we here at Lawmakers use on a regular basis.
In an effort to raise kids with automobile passenger safety in mind, the Boost America campaign has kicked off in Georgia. Lieutenant Governor Mark Taylor spoke at the front steps of the Capitol this morning to thank a few public and private organizations who have contributed to the safety of Georgia's children. Lawmakers' David Zelski is live from the Capitol Plaza with more on that story. David.
Well, Gerald, the Lieutenant Governor was joined by the Governor's Office of Highway Safety, the United Way, and the Ford Motor Company, who have launched a massive educational campaign both in Georgia and across the nation. A standard car seat is not made for children under 4'10". So the Ford Motor Company decided to give them a boost.
Ford Motor Company's generous donation of 25,000 booster seats for Georgia's neediest families will certainly get us off to a great start. Those seats will be distributed by our friends at the United Way across the state, and additional seats will be made available through the company's network of dealers.
1 million seats donated nationwide, 25,000 of those for Georgians.
Working poor families. They work, but they still cannot afford to purchase booster seats or child safety seats because they have to pay the utility bills. They have to pay for food. So for those families who have special needs, we will provide the child safety seats and booster seats for them also.
I'm proud to say that we in Georgia have made considerable progress in getting young and old alike to buckle up, including a requirement that all children up to age 4 are securing car seats when traveling. But there's more to do, and that's why we're here today.
The Boost America campaign has 4 key elements. First, star-powered educational videos from people like Will and Jada Pinkett Smith. Second, the 1 million donated booster seats. Third, a push for sensible booster seat laws. And finally, assistance to train more safety technicians for seat fittings. Currently, 76% of children between 4 and 8 years of age do not use booster seats, a number this campaign would like to lower through education and public awareness. Reporting live from the Capitol Plaza, I'm David Zelski for Lawmakers.
David, tell us, is there any child safety seat legislation expected for this session?
Well, there is talk of some legislation that would provide legal immunity to the people who help educate the parents on how to fit the seats into cars and how to use them.
Okay, thank you very much, David. And if you would like to find out if you're eligible for one of those booster seats, or you'd just like to know more about the program, you can go to www.boostamerica.org or simply dial 211 to contact the United Way.
Senators Steve Thompson and Rooney Bowen have introduced a bill that would exempt autopsy photographs from public disclosure laws. The bill is in response to the death of NASCAR legend Dale Earnhardt, killed in a crash at the Daytona 500 last year. The Earnhardt family was unsuccessful in trying to halt the release of autopsy photos that was allowed by Florida law.
To help you understand how legislation might affect you around the state, we have put together a Lawmakers Network. These 5 stations in various cities in Georgia which will contribute stories for this program. Here they are.
You're watching Lawmakers, your best source for news and information from the Georgia General Assembly. The Lawmakers Network stations include in Albany, WFXL, in Augusta, WJBF, in Columbus, WRBL, in Macon, WGXA, and in Savannah, WTOC. Now, once again, here are Gerald Bryant and Susan Hoffman.
When State School Superintendent Linda Shrinko graded the state's education system, Columbia County students were ranked at the head of the class. Chip Creamer of Lawmakers affiliate WJBF in Augusta explains why.
What is it that you're trying to do with that list of 3 things, Colby? Find reasons, like why.
5th graders at Greenbrier Elementary School are learning better ways to write a short story. Language arts is one of the subjects where Columbia County students are strong. In fact, the 2001 Georgia School report cards are out, and once again, Columbia County schools are performing above the state average.
We are real proud of the fact that our students continue to perform very, very well. Particularly when you look at us in comparison to others, and of course that's to be expected too in a community where we do have a pretty highly educated community and one that values education and expects a lot.
The report card looks at several areas, including standardized testing.
Very good.
The report shows Columbia County elementary and middle school students continue to excel not only in language skills, but math and science.
We just believe in raising the bar and just challenging the children every day, encouraging them, bringing their life into the classroom and making things interesting for them.
To keep scores up, many of the schools offer special help.
We do a program 2 Saturdays each month, 4-hour program. They come in at 8, we work until 12, and I told them if they work hard, I serve them pizza. So they look for pizza at noon, and then they go home.
For Georgia Lawmakers, I'm Chip Creamer in Augusta.
In other news, environmental groups and concerned citizens gathered at the Capitol today to ask for a freeze on permits for new power plants in Georgia.
We're here today because Georgia is at a crossroads. This state can blindly continue to permit power plants to anybody who asks for one, and we can assess the consequences to our public health and our environment later. Or Georgia can do better than that. We can put together a comprehensive energy plan that balances our need to grow with our need to protect the very things that sustain our communities: clean air, abundant water, and citizens who are engaged in the democratic process.
We believe it's a time for this to stop. We call on Senator Tanksley and his committee to come together and develop a comprehensive, reasonable plan that will give our citizens relief in this area and will, as a result of his committee coming together, protect our environment, protect the quality of life for our citizens, not only in Walton County, but throughout the state of Georgia.
According to the Sierra Club, there are currently over 19 proposed power plants on Georgia's permit list. Demonstrators say that they fear more power plants will increase air pollution and further deplete Georgia's water resources. 5,000 postcards expressing support for a permit freeze were delivered to Senator Charlie Tanksley, who serves as the chair of the governor's energy task force. Ralliers are asking for a moratorium until the state can determine how new power plants will affect Georgia communities.
State Representative Louise McBee has introduced a bill that would give state colleges more power to sue student athletes who break rules about dealing with sports agents. The University of Georgia is among schools urging lawmakers to give them the right to sue for damages if a student is the cause of the school's forfeiting games or bowl winnings. The National Collegiate Athletic Association is endorsing McBee's bill and similar bills in all states.
Improving higher education was the order of business this morning as representatives from Georgia's Association of Black State Universities met for an Eggs and Issues breakfast and a visit from Governor Barnes. In his address to the group, the governor stressed that collegiate success begins with strong public schools and that the relationships between the state's universities and high schools needed to improve.
Understanding of what is true and what is right, his wisdom. It began its development at an early age. While
it said that it was 43%, that Georgia had the highest dropout rate in the nation. You can't educate children and students on a higher education level if we cannot get them the basic knowledge in K through 12. The disconnect between our public high schools and the historically black universities of this state should not allow to continue. They need to know the standards that are required, and we need to put the responsibility to prepare the students. The kids will do it. Believe me, they'll rise to the challenge.
Georgia's historically black state universities are Albany State, Savannah State, and Fort Valley State universities. Today was the association's 17th annual legislative conference.
Almost every day on Lawmakers, we tell you about the activities of Governor Roy Barnes. But Georgia's First Lady, Marie Barnes, has a hectic schedule, too. Among the items on her recent agenda, house building. Nicole Teagan of Lawmakers affiliate WTOC in Savannah has that story.
A little paint here, a few nails there. Homes need to be built, and these women are building them from the ground up. While these women are on the outside pounding away nail by nail to put up this siding, other women are inside painting on the final touches.
Uh-oh, we're stuck. There we go.
They've taken on this task to help remedy a nationwide problem.
The largest group in this country that lives in poverty housing, really substandard or unsafe housing, is the women and children of our country.
It's a situation that Daisy Cohen knows all too well. And by helping build her own home, she's not only learning new skills, she's also helping to build her self-esteem.
You know you can do it. And there's nothing else can put you down. You just know you can do it.
Once the house is complete, these women will also take home skills that will pay off in the long run.
And they can take care of everyday situations and things that might occur just, normal run-of-the-mill maintenance on houses. So everybody ought to be able to do that, or at least every woman should too.
And they'll continue to do it until every last nail is hammered into place. In Savannah, Nicole Teagan for GPTV Lawmakers.
Natural gas deregulation, that is what brought dozens of Atlantans out last night to a prayer vigil against high gas prices. Re-regulation, that was the chant filling the air last night as citizens marched in protest saying deregulation has left them out in the cold. They protested with petitions in hand, hoping to fill the pages and bring back re-regulation. The group rallied against high gas prices, saying gas is like water. It's an essential necessity, and prices are leaving them broke. A number of lawmakers were also on hand to show their support.
We were told when they deregulated that competition would go up, prices would go down, customer service would go up. But everything that ought to be up is down, everything that ought to be down is up. But we won't be tricked anymore.
The people of Georgia are standing up and bringing the message to elected officials. You go back and you fix that gas bill. It wasn't broke.
Both citizens and lawmakers say they will not stop their efforts until regulation is back in effect. Standing together in their effort to re-regulate, the group plans to meet again next Tuesday.
In other news, House Democrats have introduced a bill to exempt National Guard members and military reservists from paying state income tax. That waiver would only apply to their military pay. House Republicans are backing a bill that would waive state income tax for police officers, firefighters, and paramedics.
A Georgia hero was honored today in the state Senate. Air Force Reserve Captain Bernetta Lane, a Columbus native, was among those who rushed to the scene to help rescuers on September 11th when terrorists crashed a plane into the Pentagon. She was introduced by Senator Ed Harbin.
It gives me a great deal of pleasure today to stand here and recognize a native of Columbus, Georgia, who is accompanied by a contingent from the Pentagon, who was there at ground zero the day of infamy that struck us on 9/11 of last year, who performed in a courageous way and was cited by the Air Force for doing an outstanding job. Some members of this contingent are from Albany, Georgia, and other parts of the country, New Jersey, so it is a privilege to have this group here in our state of Georgia today. But Captain Bernetta Lane was cited, a native of Columbus, Georgia, I repeat, and we're just glad to have you here, and God bless you.
Good morning. Thank you to everyone. It is just such an honor to serve in our United States Air Force. I've been in the Air Force for 14 years, prior enlisted, and once I received my degree, I did receive a commission. And again, it is just such an honor, and I'm so proud to be an American. Thank you.
Well said. And in the House today, the House paid tribute to a young man who created a unique greeting card. Here is Representative Mark Burkhalter.
We have a resolution that will be passed later today for a very special constituent I have. His name is Kevin Carbone. Kevin designed the UNICEF Christmas Card of the Year and is the winner out of 2,000 entries. And I want to tell you what's special about this card and one of the reasons he was the winner. His family has two different faiths in his family. His mother is Jewish, and he's Jewish, and his father is Christian. And he incorporated both of these faiths into one Christmas card and became the national winner. And you probably saw it. It was in the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, but here's a copy of it, and we're going to present it to the speaker here to keep for his own purpose. Kevin?
Because the thing was all about just holidays, and I knew that we celebrate two of them, so I thought it'd be really neat to have my mom and dad and me and my sister, those two holidays that we celebrate on our card.
Just say thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
A very special young man. Coming up tomorrow on Lawmakers, the Public Service Commission will be meeting. Hamilton Northcutt will have the latest on the issues surrounding the debate on natural gas. And in Wandy Lawson has the details of how the Department of Human Resources is tightening their belt as their special series on budget cuts continues. And for those of you with access to the Internet, you can watch Lawmakers online. Visit our website at gpb.org. Lawmakers programs are streamed live, then archived on that site every night that we're on the air. Stay tuned as Nature Scene explores the plants and animals native to Vermont's Groton State Forest. That's next here on GPTV.
And that is our broadcast for this, the 8th Legislative Day at the Georgia General Assembly. Thanks for joining us. I'm Susan Hoffman.
And I'm Gerald Bryan. For everyone here at Lawmakers, good night.
Good night.